The wind snatched the cat from the wreckage and sent her tumbling through the air. Her heart hammered against her ribs, her claws extended, her eyes wide with terror. She was sure she'd die. Surely the ground would snatch her up and end her life. But at the last possible moment, something caught her, something strong and sure. And then she was safe. She looked up into the kindest eyes she had ever seen. They belonged to a man who cradled her close and whispered reassurances that she didn't understand but felt deep within her bones. He was one of the rescuers who arrived late for the plane, but in time for her. In the aftermath, there were cheers and applause. Everyone celebrated their survival. They lost everything, but they lived. And the cat was part of their story now. When they recounted the events of that day, people would always ask about her. Where is she now? What happened to the cat? And the man would smile and answer, she's all right. He wasn't talking about the cat anymore. He was talking about his daughter. The cat had been an accident, a momentary lapse in judgment on behalf of the mother, who thought the wind snatching their cat from their hands was a sign she wanted to fly. That was why she opened the side window of the plane and let the cat out. She wanted to honor her daughter's wish to be free. She'd only meant for it to be a few seconds, just enough time for the cat to experience the wind beneath her paws, the sun in her face, and the clouds at her back. But the wind was stronger than they were, more insistent. It pushed against the plane, rattling the windows and threatening to tear the door clean off its hinges. The girl's father fought to keep the plane level. His knuckles grew white against the control yoke. His wife soothed their crying baby while keeping an eye on the wildcat. She knew the moment they lost her when the wind snatched the cat from the wreckage and sent her tumbling through the air. But the pilot wasn't looking for a cat when he landed his rescue chopper on the mountainside. He was looking for people, survivors of the plane crash that had made headlines around the world. It was supposed to be a routine search and rescue mission, the kind that happens every year when tourists get too close to the clouds. But this was no ordinary crash. This was a tragedy. There were 3 people on board the small plane, a husband and wife and their baby girl. Their bodies were strewn across the mountainside like discarded dolls. Grief hung heavy in the air, a suffocating blanket that threatened to smother him. He forced himself to look away, to focus on the task at hand. They might be dead, but there could still be something worth saving. And that's when he saw her. A tiny ball of orange fur nestled against the dead body of a woman, her breathing shallow and raspy. As he knelt beside them, the cat looked up at him with eyes full of fear and sorrow. In that moment, he knew he wasn't just rescuing a cat. He was rescuing a piece of the woman's soul. He scooped her up and held her close, feeling her tremble against him. He didn't know what to do, so he did the only thing he could think of. He talked to her in a soft, soothing voice, telling her she was safe now, that she didn't have to be afraid. When the helicopter blades sliced through the air, the sound reaching her ears like the buzz of angry hornets, she arched away from him, hissing and spitting. He held her tighter, burying his face in her fur. It was the only way he knew how to comfort her. As the helicopter lifted off, the cat's cries echoing in his ears, he looked down at the mountainside and saw the couple lying side by side, their faces pale and lifeless in the afternoon sun. He knew he'd never forget this moment, the way the wind whipped through the valley, carrying with it the scent of pine and sorrow. When they got back to the village, a crowd of people were waiting for them, their faces etched with concern and hope. He could see the questions forming on their lips, the unspoken fears in their eyes. He knew they wanted to ask about the cat, but they were afraid to jinx it. So he gave them an answer before they even had a chance to ask. "I found her," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion. "She's alive." A collective gasp went around the crowd, followed by a wave of relief and joy. The little cat that could have made it. The news spread like wildfire. Soon everyone in the village knew the cat had survived. They named her Miracle. She became a local celebrity, the star attraction at the village's annual festival. Children would come from all around to pet her, to hear her story. Adults would gather in the town square, sipping wine and swapping tales of her bravery. But not everyone was happy about the attention. Some people thought it was wrong to celebrate a cat that had survived such a tragedy. They said it was bad luck to talk about Miracle, that it would only bring bad things. But the villagers weren't about to let a little superstition get in their way. They loved Miracle, and they weren't going to stop celebrating her thus because some people were jealous. As the years passed, Miracle's legend grew. People started leaving offerings at her statue in the town square, flowers and food and trinkets. Some people even left messages, their hopes and dreams scrunched up tight inside glass bottles. But Miracle didn't care about any of that. She was just a cat, after all. All she wanted was a warm lap and a full bowl of fish. One day, a young girl came to visit Miracle. She'd heard stories about the brave cat, and she wanted to see if it was true. Was Miracle really as amazing as they said? The girl stood staring at the statue, tracing the lines of its paws and whiskers with her fingers. She closed her eyes and listened to the whispers of the wind, trying to hear Miracle's story in the rustle of the leaves. But when she opened her eyes, all she saw was a cat. Just a cat sitting in a patch of sunlight, grooming herself with delicate pink tongue. The girl was disappointed. She'd expected something more, something magical. But there was nothing magical about this cat. She was just a cat. Yet as the girl sat there watching her, she realized that maybe that was the point. Maybe the magic wasn't in Miracle, but in the story we tell ourselves about her. We create these myths and legends to make sense of the world, to give meaning to the chaos. When the girl told her friends about her encounter with Miracle, they didn't believe her. They thought she was making it up, that she was just trying to be different. But the girl knew the truth. She had seen Miracle's eyes, and they held a wisdom that belied her small size. Miracle didn't need to be a legend. She was real, and that was enough. That night, the girl couldn't sleep. She tossed and turned in her bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought about Miracle and the other cats in her life, the ones who had been with her through thick and thin. She thought about her own story, the way it had been shaped by the people who loved her, the way it would continue to evolve as she grew older. She thought about the choices she had made, the mistakes she had made, the people she had loved and lost. And as she thought about all these things, she began to understand. The reason we tell stories isn't to make sense of the world, but to create it. Our stories shape us as much as we shape them. They're a reflection of who we are, what we believe in, and what we hope for. She sat up in bed and smiled. She knew what she had to do. She got out of bed and went to the desk where she kept her journal. She opened it to a blank page and began to write. She wrote about Miracle, about the other cats in her life, and about the stories they had told her. She wrote about her own story, the one that had brought her to this moment, and the one she hoped would carry her forward. When she was done, she read it all aloud, savoring the words and the way they sounded. She knew she wasn't just writing a story. She was creating a life.